Welcome to Livsenergi, Theresa.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So you are in the UK right now, and we are in Stockholm, Sweden. And Theresa, you are an author, well known in the wide world out there, but not to Sweden yet. So we are about to launch your first book in Sweden in these days.
Yeah, and it's all part of my master plan for global domination. That you are the last ones to crack, okay? So, no, I'm in about 44 languages. Especially, I'm in about 44 languages now. It's wonderful that the spiritual message I'm trying to promote is becoming so popular, especially now with the world in crisis. I can talk about that later if you want. I've never had so much interest, because I have been writing 25 years about spirituality, about back to nature, about the self-help advice I've been giving from a spiritual perspective, but never have I had so much interest as the last 4 to 5 months. It's been incredible. Organizations that I never thought would talk to me are, because I'm quite sort of, I'm a new age writer, you could say controversial. And in times past, the more traditional broadcasters, etc., wouldn't perhaps be interested in what I've got to say, and now they are. And I feel that's a breakthrough for a spiritual approach to life.
So it's not just interest from your readers, it's interest from different media perspectives that want to hear your voice.
Well, last couple of weeks, I've had Cosmopolitan Heat magazine, this is a celebrity magazine, contacting me about my dream research, and as a dream expert, they did a double-page feature on what I do. I've had Yahoo, the BBC, media companies, Anthropology, a clothing store with 200.
I love that store.
And I did a dream webinar last week, which was very well received because I do events, and they wanted me to dream decode on there, and other organizations as well who are asking me to come and talk about the spiritual perspective, about interpreting your dreams. And it's incredible. But I think in times of crisis, people do tend to go back to their roots, the spiritual DNA in their roots. And that's the reason for it. And for me, I feel very blessed to have this opportunity to talk about what I've been talking about for 25 years.
That's cool. Theresa, I will stop you there for 1 second and just tell all our listeners out there that this is Theresa Cheung, the author of our next book called 21 ritualer, Använd kraften i naturen, eller Använd naturens kraft. So it's in English, the title is 21 Rituals to Connect with Nature. Theresa,
it sounds much nicer in Swedish. It sounds much more exotic. Oh, so much better. I want to keep that title.
Right. No, actually, we thought that maybe this is the first in the series of 21 rituals. We'll talk about rituals with you in a short while, because it's a series of books that you have been doing on that kind of subject, which is really interesting to hear about. But just for the record, so you are well known over the world, and you are writing in, like you just said, you are writing within the area, the esoteric area, and New Age, if you want to call it that. That's not a very common word we use in Sweden any longer. It was like 20, 30 years ago, but now it's more like a spirituality has become its own like segment, which I really like. So, but you are well, how do you say, you are deep into very different areas within the esoteric field.
Yes.
So you write about dream, how do you say it?
Interpretation, dream coding, yes.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about, because you are so wide.
I am. Well, I'll go to my background. I was born into a family of psychics and spiritualists, we traveled around. That was my life. I was blessed to have the opportunity to read theology at King's College, Cambridge University, where I learned about all world religions. And then I embraced universal spirituality. I mean, I love religion, but I don't subscribe to one because I believe all religions are beautiful. So it's a spiritual approach. And then I had opportunity after opportunity to write books about the esoteric, about the paranormal, about hauntings, about ghosts initially, then about angels, then about the possibility of an afterlife. And then I was given the opportunity to write encyclopedias for HarperCollins of the psychic world first, an A to Z of everything psychic, then about dreams, interpretation, then about astrology and birthdays. So I became kind of the go-to sort of one with encyclopedic knowledge. And I think it's because of my academic background that I could use that to present this in a more credible way. I have never claimed to be psychic or to see angels or to talk to dead people. However, like everyone, I've had my moments of profound intuition, lucid dreams that have played out in real life, and moments that I believe an angel saved my life. But I approach it from a very skeptical perspective. I just put the facts out there. Then I bring in scientists. I work with scientists. And the conclusion I've come to after these 25 years is there's something there. We don't know why we're on this planet. We can only guess. But I present the evidence from an esoteric, spiritual perspective. And it seems to have struck a chord, that approach. Because I think a lot of people are like me. They want to believe, but they don't necessarily see angels or talk to dead people. And I feel that that's what my role is. An ordinary person who believes in the possibility of the extraordinary. And that's what my research and my writing, and I've written close to 100 books in this area now.
Oh, I counted to 20, but then I heard your interview with Russell Brand, and I'm like, oh God, I missed a few.
I told him I was a serial, Russell Brand, I can talk about that if you like. I'm a serial spiritual writer. It's my passion, it's my life, it's what I was born into, it's what I've studied, it's what I've researched. And my passion has connected me to the likes. I've had an interview with Piers Morgan about spirituality, would you believe, on GMTV. That was the first.
Teresa, I have a dog here. I know.
I love that. I've got a dog here too.
I will just make sure she's quiet. Okay, go on. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I don't know where I was really. I've forgotten that.
Let's go on then. So tell us a little bit more. You had quite an interesting background growing up, traveling around. You know, in Sweden we don't have that history with spiritualists. So tell us a little bit about it. How was it?
Well, I grew up in people who believe that you can communicate with the other side, spirits. So going to a demonstration of mediumship when I was 4 or 5 was commonplace, that you have an ongoing relationship with the departed loved ones, that there are people that can bring that departed loved one back and talk. It was something that I just accepted, that when people died, they went on in some kind of spiritual form. Now, the struggle with me is that I was surrounded and born into people who had the gift, but I didn't. And I felt there was something wrong with me. But however, what I inherited from them was a passion and an interest in it. And I wanted to find out more. What is going on? Because I've seen so many extraordinary incidents of psychics or mediums making a connection or finding out information that there's no way that they possibly could. I wanted to research it. And that was why I went to Cambridge University. I was blessed to get that opportunity to study there. And then I realized that my calling was maybe to write about it, research it, and find out what is going on. I'm still very skeptical. I don't know whether psychics and mediums are telepathic, that they maybe have an ability to read minds in some way. I don't know. But what I've made it my life's purpose is to show that there is something there. There are too many anecdotal incidents of extraordinary things happened that you can't explain rationally. And in any other line of work, this would be regarded as data. And that's why about 5 years ago, I teamed up with some scientists who are researching consciousness. So working with scientists has become my passion, because the problem with this area is the skeptics say, where's the proof? So I have worked with scientists to show that there is some proof. There is credible research out there. And I've worked with scientists and neuroscientists to find out what's happening in the brains of psychics and mediums, and also scientists who study what consciousness is. What is consciousness? I find that absolutely fascinating. And I try to present this research in my books. So you're not just getting a comforting, feel-good, vague read when you have one of my books. You will get the comfort, I hope, because I firmly believe that death ends a life, not a relationship. I think it is possible to have an ongoing relationship in spirit with departed loved ones. But you will also get, look, here's the science. Have a look at it. Just open your mind to what's going on in the scientific world right now. It is stunning. And and because of my work with the scientists, one of my books, actually, the Premonition Code, where we talk about people who have profound intuition, who work with governments, who work with law enforcement because of their intuitive ability, their ability to sense, perhaps see the future. That book actually ended up having a 2-page feature in the Guardian newspaper, which was incredible. I felt what a way forward. It's being taken seriously. Yeah. And the reason it was being taken seriously was because I teamed up for that book with a neuroscientist. And the same in this book that we're talking about here, 21 Nature. Yes. I bring in the scientific research into why nature's so good for you, but I also realize I'm not a practitioner. I'm an author. So I brought in a couple of authors to offer that perspective of people who use the healing power of nature in their work every day and have clients coming to them. I wanted their voice in as well, because as I said, I'm an author who presents the research, who presents my opinion. But increasingly in my books, I've brought in voices from science to co-author with me, or the practitioner, the people who are actually having clients and see every day on the front lines how this is benefiting people. So
you have also presented yourself as a collector of stories.
Yes.
Yes, I love that. It sounds so inviting.
Oh, thank you. Well, the reason I did it as well, so that we have a body of scientific data. And I was actually contacted by academics, one whom was researching his PhD at the time into the possibility of afterlife communication. And he wanted to use my stories. And this is great because I've written about 12 afterlife story collections. Now, these are people who write to me saying, something extraordinary happened to me. Can you explain it? Or it really helped me. So what I do is I collate these stories with my commentary, with the scientific research. And those books have been, 2 of them were made Sunday Times top 10 here, number 4 and number 9. And they had no publicity because the UK is quite cynical. It is a cynical place. It's actually the worst place. My soul, I don't know why put me in the UK.
You could be in Sweden as well. That's a cynical.
Is it? Well, it's good though. Actually, I really like that approach because I think, people want to believe, people can be gullible. And I like that. I mean, a lot of people want to be told what to do and what to say and what to think and what to feel. And I think a healthy dose of skepticism is very important. But as I said, the books came out with no publicity from my publisher because they typically with my book overseas. I mean, I'm big in places, Croatia. I'm very big. There's Serbia. I all over the world. China, of course, given my surname, because my husband is Chinese.
Oh, that's why. I was wondering.
Yes. A lot of people think my husband is Chinese. But there was no publicity. And they were shocked as well that suddenly number 4 in the Sunday Times, it was An Angel Healed Me, which was stories of nurses and health carers who have been present when people are dying and have seen extraordinary things happening. Moments of lucidity just before a person dies where they believe they see a lost loved one, or lights, glows, or nurses waking up at a certain time in the night and then the next morning and a patient they're very close to has died at that time. Near-death experience stories, which are very big in the news at the moment. I get sent a lot of those. People who feel they can't write to anyone else because doctors will dismiss it, psychologists will dismiss it as wishful thinking. And I get all those arguments. However, there are arguments against it. For example, people say it's hallucination. Hallucination typically makes a person feel very depressed and confused. When people have had an afterlife or spiritual experience, it's the opposite. They feel elated. They come back to their life with a newfound sense of purpose. Hallucination is the opposite. if people say, well, why are they all so similar, the experiences? Well, for me, that's a positive. Because when you get a 4-year-old child talking about the afterlife in the same way as a 99-year-old, how is that possible, regardless of culture and religion? I do know all the arguments against, and actually I love coming back and just opening the debate. I'm not trying to convince anyone. I'm not. All I'm saying is, well, have a look at my point of view, because I'm going to look at yours. Yeah. Because I think that's where humanity progresses, is if we all take a look at your point of view. People can say I'm deluded, it's wishful thinking, etc., etc. Where's the proof? But I can say to them, well, you prove to me that there is no life after death. They can't either.
No, exactly.
Skeptics can't prove to me the opposite. I can't prove to them definitively either. So let's just have a meeting of minds and take all of us open our minds to the other point of view. That's what I'd like to do. But what I do know, in times of crisis, what the skeptics have to offer does not bring the comfort. When it really matters, all people talk about, because I did work in a hospice and I had the opportunity, the blessing to be with people when they passed, they never talk about anything but love or what they felt, which means to me that what we feel has a power. And I believe what we feel is what survives our bodily death. And I believe what we feel is what can change the world. And I don't think the world has paid enough attention to the power of feelings, emotion, compassion, and kindness. And look where we are right now in the world.
Feelings can actually also change health conditions.
Absolutely. Yes, if people have something to live for, feel loved and cared for, they do tend to have a higher recovery rate than people who feel depressed and alone. And, if you look at call lines, Samaritan call lines, biggest reason is loneliness and people feeling unloved and uncared for. And what I talk about in my books is, as hard as it is, the place to begin with that love is with yourself. And that's the journey of our lives, because if you don't love yourself, trying to get other people to love you is an uphill struggle. And that is the journey, the spiritual journey of our lives. And all my books cover this, the ritual books as well. If you don't have that foundation stone in place, self-love, the rest of your life isn't going to make sense. And it's the hardest thing in the world. If you were born into very difficult circumstances, if there was abuse, hardest thing in the world. My books also address, why do bad things happen to good people? How do you deal with it? The whys, the big whys, which are all the arguments against what I talk about. And I do think that Ritual, the book that you're going to work, it's actually the 4th in the series, is a powerful way.
The 21 rituals for intuition, for make a change.
Well, the first one was a little book I wrote 4 years ago. Had no idea. I just wrote it in 2 weeks, actually, because I was getting fed up in the spiritual movement of all this emphasis on meditation, mindfulness, dreaming, hoping, affirmations, because I'd done all that in my life. And yes, there is point to it. Sort out your head first. Yeah. But it's what you do that matters. We all know people who say, promise a lot, and then don't deliver. And that's how the universe feels, I think, with a lot of us in the spiritual movement. We're all meditating for hours. We're all being mindful. We're all visualizing. We're all saying, I love you in the mirror. But if our actions, our daily actions our rituals that we do every day don't reflect that spiritual approach, nothing's going to change in our life. For example, saying you love yourself and meditating for hours, and then lying in all morning, not making your bed, eating badly, all the things you do are what the universe notices. So my books have kind of like been an answer to that big book, The Secret, which I think causes more distress at times, because people think, well, I am trying to think positively. I am fighting my negative thoughts, but my life still sucks. What's going on? And I'm saying, well, it's obvious. It's what you do. And even if you don't feel good, doing small positive things every day over a period of time that will change your life for the better. The universe is waiting for people to become viable. If you wake up saying your affirmations, do your 15-minute meditation, etc., that's great. The universe likes that, promise, the door's open. But you've got to then live your life in that way, positively, right? You've got to be kind to other people. You've got to declutter your house. You've got to eat healthily. You've got to do the positive rituals. Then the universe will say, right, now we can bring good things to this person, because they are actually walking the talk.
Yeah, exactly.
Too much talk in the New Age spiritual movement.
Yeah.
Too much dreaming.
And too much talk to yourself, perhaps.
Yeah.
But you are talking about rituals as something that we already are doing, which I do, I think you are saying, and I agree to that. And so looking at the 21 ritual books, it's actually not, I mean, some people could be, feel a little bit, how do you say, strange about rituals, because it's, you know, ritual, it's spiritual, and it's mystical, and it's religious and stuff like that. And everyone doesn't like that. So
let me explain.
Yes, please.
Ritual is, you can do rituals without being religious or even spiritual. That is the beauty of these books. If you are skeptical or whatever, it's very everyday. A ritual is something that gets its power from your belief in it, from your willingness to repeat it every day. Actually, though, you don't even need to believe in the power of ritual for it to work. There's been research study done where if you do something and you don't believe it, it's still better for you than to not do the ritual. Let me explain a ritual with terms of tennis. You know when they bounce the ball before they serve? That's a ritual. There's no point to it. However, yeah, but they bounce the ball, don't they?
The ground, yeah, that's right.
What? That's a ritual. Because what it's doing is that, you know, it's concentrating them. And it's a kind of like, if they don't do it, I mean, it's very rare to see someone just go and serve in tennis. That's a ritual. That ritual increases the chances of them getting the ace that they want. And not doing it, it's impossible for them. And that is what daily rituals are. They're bouncing the ball before the serve. They're getting you to that place where everything is just right and aligned. And they're simple, everyday things that you do. We do not realize that what we do every day is what defines us. We are what we do. We are not what we think.
Let's talk a little bit about the 21 rituals to connect with nature. Because ever since, I would say, you know, this book about trees, the
Wisdom of Trees.
Wisdom of Trees.
Was that a beautiful book?
Yes. Ever since that came, it's about 4 years ago, right? You know, it was on everyone's bedside. Everyone had read it or should read it. And ever since that, I can feel that people are more and more interested in nature and connecting with nature, and are opening up to the opportunity that there is something in the forest and within the trees and the nature that can actually bring health and well-being.
Many times in my life when things haven't gone well, I have found great comfort from nature. And I actually, 20 years ago, I live right by a forest now, Windsor Great Park. I live by there rather than used to live in London for a reason. It's almost like nature can talk to you. And I guess when I was at Cambridge, I also, because I read English as well as theology, the romantic poets, you know, the mountains talking to you. I was very into that. But there is an incredible comfort and wisdom from nature. It's extraordinarily healing. And it is a tragedy today that people don't understand or don't reach out to nature in the same way that they did. And children especially, I mean, with nature deficit disorder becoming common, just the healing power of being there when your heart is broken or things don't go right, spending time in nature. Because we came from the forests. It makes sense. It's in our DNA. It makes sense but that's where we can get comfort, healing, wisdom, and teaching. And I think the younger generation, I'm really pleased, a lot of them are tuning into this. It's the older generation that for some reason is losing the plot right now and not taking care of nature. But I have great optimism. I know from my own children how passionate they are about the natural world. I'm getting more and more younger people writing to me about animal cruelty and about what we're doing to the oceans, to the trees, you know. And that's also, like last year I signed with a digital publisher because I'm aware that books kill trees. You know, my sensitivity code that's come out, and the book that follows it is 100 Ways to Be Kind. It's just digital only for that reason, because I was trying to make a point. This is the way maybe to save trees. But yes, nature, and there is research now, increasingly amount of research to show that people who are cut off from nature are suffering increased incidence of depression. I hope this book plays a part in helping people, even if it just helps one person get back to earth. I hope it will do that.
Yeah. And the nice thing about nature is that you are surrounded by living things in a concrete house, or you know, on the roads, and it's all dead material, kind of.
Yeah, everything's living.
Nature, everything is vibrant and vital and green, and it's a lot of energies there.
Bringing plants into your home, and even if a spider comes into your home, for example, don't kill it. Spiders are their own ecosystem. They can control pests in your house. You know, just start respecting it. Make friends with the spider. If you don't want it in your house, put it outside gently. Don't kill spiders. You know, they are actually more scared of you than you are of them. And they have their own work to do in your home, destroying pests and things. You know, it starts right in the home. You're right. And with parents with children, bringing plants in and getting a child to nurture a plant. It's a living thing. There is research to show that talking to plants, you know, Prince Charles does it, so hey, why can't we?
You can also listen to plants. They have music. They play music.
Exactly. I know that in times when I felt stressed and depressed, my flowers or plants, they will wilt quicker. I don't know how that happens, but when I felt really happy and, you know, excited about life, I noticed that the plants in my home mirror that. It's an incredible empathy. I mean, it's unproven, and it's probably because when I'm happy, I'm more likely to nurture the plants and take care of them and feed them. That probably plays a part. But, you know, I think nurturing a plant is a great way to start, because not all of us are blessed to live in the countryside. I'm very blessed that I live right by a park with deers and squirrels and foxes and wildlife. It's just on my doorstep. I'm very, very blessed with that.
Tell us about the ritual thing, the 21 rituals. There is a reason why you have chosen this.
Okay, 21 rituals. First of all, rituals are not to do with religion. Please forget that. It's just a term. A ritual, though, is a positive daily action, something you do repeatedly. It's the small changes each day that make the long-term difference. And that's why we say 21, because 21 days is the absolute minimum you need to repeat this ritual for it to actually have an impact on your brain, form new neural pathways, and make a positive difference in your life. Too many people do it once and think, well, I don't feel any better. And it's because of the repetition. You need to repeat it daily for at least 3 to 4 weeks. Then write to me and say it doesn't work. And that's where, but don't tell your brain, I'm going to do this. Rebels. It doesn't like to be told to do anything for life. So that's why we say 21, because 21, the brain will think, okay, let's see. So just all I'm saying is stay with me for 21 days. And that is what I did with the first book, was 21 rituals to change your life. I did 7 rituals for the morning, 7 for the afternoon, and 7 for the evening. Please repeat these every day. And they're very simple things. They are things people think, oh, this is very complicated. They're not. They're really simple things. For example, when you get up in the morning, stretch.
You're cracking up here. Hello? Are you with
Too
me?
many of it for the day is that we are minimal, small. So when you get up, battle cry, big stretch, show the universe you mean business. Simple things that you do every day. Fake a smile even if you don't feel like it, because faking a smile, the action of smiling, tricks the brain. The brain is led by your action. So that was the first book, 21 Rituals to Change Your Life. The second book was informed by my research and work with a neuroscientist. That I did a book called the Premonition Code, which is about the power of intuition. This is 21 rituals, things you can do to become more intuitive. Very simple things, one of which, of course, is interpreting your dreams. There's a ritual that make dream recall a ritual. All these 21 things you can do so that by the end, you are more intuitive. Then I wrote a ritual yearbook. Now that was a tour de force. That's a ritual a day for all year. Something
I love that book. I have it here and I'm planning maybe to give it out later.
It's a big book. And this one is the final one in the series, which is about my passion for nature. And I must talk about the two authors I brought in. They did a ritual each, one ritual. One of them is Christian Newman. She's a natural healer and teacher and runs a speaking group in Cambridge, which has had the likes of Rupert Sheldrake talking there. And she treats people through natural healing, through herbs, through energy healing. And the other, she did a ritual about basically hugging trees, or, you know, because I felt that I needed someone who actually did that. You know, I do it, but not as a teacher. I don't have clients.
Exactly. And
she has. And the other person was a lovely Alexandra Wenman. They're both lovely. The lovely Christian Newman. The first one, tree hugging. The second one, Alexandra Wenman, she is a crystal specialist. She works in the healing power of crystals. So I thought, I want someone to create a unique ritual for the book who actually has clients who come to her and she will recommend, well, you need rose quartz, or you need this crystal, you need that crystal. I wanted to give a platform. I've been very blessed to have book after book. I'm very blessed. I mean, I have, you know, like this year and next, I have several more books coming out. I'm blessed. But what I felt is the practitioners, the people who are on the front lines, that don't have a literary agent, don't have all that. I wanted to give them a platform. And it was the same with the scientist, with Dr. Julia Mossbridge. Now, she's a scientist who's testing intuition, doing double-blind studies, getting published in scientific journals. But getting a book deal, how does she make that happen? I wanted to bring people in.
Her work is so important because there are millions of people out there who want to know about her scientific work.
But the trouble with scientists is, bless them, that they write as scientists. Yeah, exactly. So what my role in the Premonition Code especially was to loosen the science up, make it understandable, because most people just glaze over when you talk about double blind and blah blah blah. It's so technical, and scientists, because of their training, are taught to write that way. Now, I was blessed with Julia Mossbridge because she's such a clever woman. She immediately got, because I kept saying to her, no, nobody's going to understand this, Julia. We need to go, like, we had a chapter of what is time, you know, and she was bringing in all this brilliant research, you know, but it was so up there for people who've probably got 3 PhDs. My role was to make it accessible. And I hope we did it, although that book is one of the toughest to read. I mean, a lot of my readers said, Theresa, I've got a headache, because it's science. It is, but I did that on purpose because, as I said, that book got into The Guardian. It was actually reviewed in the Scientific Journal. And can you imagine a book about intuition reviewed in proper science journals? And it's interesting because they said, well, the only reason we're reviewing it is because of Dr. Julia Mossbridge. You know, Theresa Cheung writes encyclopedias. Because I'm not a scientist. Yeah. But what I loved is that we got this meeting of minds between science and spirit. So that's why I do it. But then I thought, I've also written a book with a medium, someone who is a very popular medium here in the UK. She has a client list waiting 2 years. 2 years long waiting list. That book's called Answers from Heaven, constantly #1 on Amazon in mediumship and whatever. And the reason I brought her in is because I collect stories about people who connect to the other side, but I'm not a medium. I'd love to be, but I'm not. And what I realized working with her is that she...
about that. You know, many people say that everyone's a medium.
Exactly. I agree. Exactly. But what she's done is she's spent 20 years training to be a medium. And she's also has clients. This is her living. So I found that was a remarkable story anyway, to make it your living, to be, and I wanted to see, is she a fraud, whatever, because I'm very skeptical, even though I grew up in it. I do wonder if a lot of it is basic psychology and telepathy. But I went to her demonstrations before I invited her to write the book with me. And honestly, this woman was getting information. I don't know how she did. I collaborate with the Windbridge Institute, Dr. Judith Beischel, where she is testing mediums scientifically. And that's what I'd like to see now. I would love to see established that a medium has been scientifically verified.
It's a lovely book, and it's so easily accessible. And you can, and it's not, you know, you don't have to change your life to get those rituals into your daily life. It's you have divided it into 3 sections, right? So you have 7 rituals for you. It's better that you tell them.
Actually, may I say about this? Because what my editor was saying, when she got it, she said, "Love it, Theresa, but can we please get them outdoors sooner?"
Oh.
Because the first one is all indoors. The second one is sort of mostly indoors, but you're kind of opening the door and the window. The third one, the third final group, is outdoors. And something inside me, that's why I said no, I want to keep it indoors. Because I know a lot of people are urban, they live in urban centres, city centres, and they can't go out and spend all day hanging out in a park. And then the pandemic struck, where in the UK, I could not believe it. It was almost like then everybody was forced indoors for this period of time. I know it was different in Sweden, you had a different approach, but over here, we were all, and the book was coming, and I suddenly thought, that's why. Because all these things were indoors. I thought, I listened to my intuition. Thank goodness I didn't open the door in Ritual 1. It's it was all indoors.
You're very right, because so many people who want to do this want to connect to nature while reading the book, being perhaps at home, looking at their plants and whatever they feel is nature.
Very indoor focused book. It's not.
Yeah. So I think that that threshold is much lower. It's easier to access nature, you know, faster that way. And then when you have a kind of ritual going on, maybe you can step outdoors.
But also what I do with all the rituals, again, I try to show scientific research. I'm not just randomly suggesting these things. I'm pointing in each ritual to research which backs up why this is good for you, so that people can follow that research and find out. I want them to know that what I'm suggesting right from the very beginning ritual to the end, all of this is backed up by scientific research. And as I said, it is very indoor focused because I'm an author. Most of my life is spent indoors. So I've had to get these, even though I live by a forest, I don't go into it as much as I should. But I also realize a lot of people don't live near wildlife or parks. Some people don't have gardens. Right?
So we can conclude that this book is for everyone.
Yes, it is. It's to back to nature.
Whether you have a dog and need to get into the forest, or if you're just at home sitting in your couch.
Exactly, that's what I wanted. And it's very interesting because I usually agree with my editors when they make, you know, because when you write a book, it's often the editor has a big say over the direction of the book. And I remember with this one, I was absolutely determined. And she was saying, "Theresa, can you please open the door and get them outside?" And I remember saying, no, I just felt this certainty. And that's what I talk about in my intuition book. You know when it's intuition, when there's an absolute certainty that leads you to take action. Because the difference between intuition and fear or wishful thinking is that fear, there's a lot of confusion and there's a lot of negative voices. Wishful thinking is the same. It's very confusing and there are a lot of voices. But with this piece of intuition, with this book, it was absolute no. Yes, increasingly now, especially now, as I said, there is unprecedented interest in what I do now. I'm doing webinars with major companies about dream decoding. I'm talking to media outlets about the spiritual approach. And it's like they're suddenly discovering me for the first time. And I have been out here for 20 years. My books have done phenomenally well, so I have my readership. But there's always been this cynicism from the authorities, from media groups. You know, they put me in the joke category. And now I'm getting
respect,
expert opinion, being asked to tutor people as businesses. I've been asked to tutor them about dream decoding and the importance of intuition. And I'm talking about how many leading companies, I can't say them at the moment, but when I was working with the neuroscientist, I found out you would not believe how many household names hire professional intuitives, people who are, it was a whole new world to me, a whole secret world of people who are using their psychic powers, for want of a better word, to tune into the future and spot future trends. I could not believe it. I was given privileged access to all that when I wrote the Premonition Code. Unbelievable. And that book is still...
Why do you think this change has occurred, like surfaced?
Crisis. In times of crisis, people look at, well, the old way hasn't worked. The authorities haven't worked. Religion, for most people, sadly, religion, as I said, I have nothing against religion if it harms no one. I have a lot against religion if it harms people. In times of crisis, people want answers and they want guidance. They're not getting it from schools anymore, because schools don't tend to offer self-help and, you know, that kind of advice. They're not getting it from religion, because for the great majority of people, religion is no longer the way where they go. Although I have nothing against religion if it harms no one. And that's the key. If religion works for you and makes you a better person and a kinder person, I love it. But if it harms anyone and you try and force your beliefs onto me, big no-no for me. So people are looking online now for help, for people like me. I mean, my Facebook page is now over 200K. It's getting to 200K. And this has just happened because people are looking for someone to offer a kind of a framework that doesn't attack other people, that is inclusive and universal. And I feel incredibly blessed that I am getting people asking me for expert opinion right now. And it is because of times of crisis. People always look for ancient wisdom. They go right back to divination. Astrology is having a huge surge right now, all over Europe. And I've actually been asked to reissue a book I wrote in 2005. I've been very busy with that recently. It was called the Encyclopedia of Birthdays, where I looked at the astrological influences on every day of the year. That was a HarperCollins encyclopedia. And I have been asked to update it to speak to today. That comes out in November. I was asked to reissue my dream encyclopedia, bearing in mind that people are dreaming about social media now. Because basically people look at ancient wisdom in times of crisis. And it always happens. The world is in crisis at the moment. There's no denying. Confusion, crisis, and a them and us mentality. And my message has always been, from all the research I've done into spirituality, near-death experiences, angel encounters, afterlife, the spiritual approach is universal. We are all connected. We are all one in spirit. Anyone who has had a near-death encounter and gone to the other side will not talk in terms of color, race, status, wealth. It's that oneness in spirit, that we are all one. And nature shows us that too. There are many colors in nature. We are all one. And in times of crisis, that's what people turn to, because spirituality is in our DNA. They call it the God gene. We all have it.
Yes. More or less on the surface, I guess.
Yes.
Yes. Accessible.
Sorry if I talk too much. It's
no, you don't. I love it when it all flows naturally. Tell us about the nun thing.
The nun. Well, I grew up in a family of psychics and spiritualists, and as I said, I didn't feel I had psychic abilities, but what I decided to do was learn about them. And also I wanted to find my path. I mean, children are like that. You want to find somewhere where you belong. And the Christian community felt like a place that welcomed me. I mean, there's positives about it, and I felt like I belonged. And before I went to Cambridge, I very much believed in the Christian message of do unto others as you would be done unto, the beauty of that, turn the other cheek, all this, the spiritual, the compassion. And I believed it so much that I decided that was where I wanted to devote my life. So I spent time contemplating that, considering my options. And it was a beautiful time of peace and tranquility. And I learned a lot from the nuns I was with.
Where were you?
I just in a local, where I lived in Sussex at the time, a local retreat, considering my options. And I learned there, what I learned there is that happiness can never be found outside yourself. That's what the nuns taught me. Powerful spiritual message. Happiness can never be found in how you look, how much you earn. It's found in who you are, your spirit. However, after 4 weeks, I realized this just wasn't for me. I still was hungry to make my mark in the material world. And then I went to Cambridge. And then I realized that Christianity is beautiful. But so is Buddhism. So is Hinduism. So is Islam. So is every religion. I realized that they all were saying the same thing in different ways. So how could I then go into one category? I realized then that they were, but then I began to realize that yes, they all are paths to the same goal. They're all paths to heaven. But I don't need to particularly follow one path. There's a path that includes them all, which I call universal spirituality. And that's where I wanted to be. It felt very limiting for me personally, although if it works for other people, to just confine myself to one. And I then devoted myself to the spiritual approach. And I believe we are spiritual beings having a human experience, not human beings having a spiritual experience. So that's my motto, as it were.
Wonderful. I will write that down because that's one of my questions to you. What's your life motto, right?
Well, I have many. They change daily. One is to stop talking so much. I say, but no, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. That inspires me, and that helps you through the tough times because you can see the bigger picture. I think when we get dragged down, when people aren't nice to us or we get rejected or things don't work, it's because we're putting our hopes and our dreams in that external material aspect of life, which is important. And I believe we need to learn how to handle it. I believe we are here to learn practical, and there's great joy to be found in the material. I'm not anti that at all. But however, the problems start when you're define your happiness. Your happiness is defined by your relationship, by the way you look, by the money you earn, by the job you have, by the political party you belong to. When your happiness is determined and your meaning is determined by that, it's a problem. That's the spiritual perspective.
Thank you. So I'm going to go on here to just cover the list. How would you describe yourself? I mean, you talk a lot and you have a lot of knowledge and you have a lot of interest, I think. How would you describe yourself, your personality? What do you like?
Oh, infuriating, I would think. I'm very, very driven. I like to be doing. I feel like I want to make every day count. I'm very curious. I love to learn. And I actually think the definition of a spiritual life, yes, love and compassion comes into it, but I think spiritual people learn. They're open-minded. They're forever, ever learning. And that's why I love to talk to skeptics and people don't. I love learning. So I would say curiosity and energy. I feel that this life is so exciting. There's so much to learn. And I try and impart that in my books. Don't waste a second. Because I'm getting older now and I'm suddenly realizing time's limited. And I look at young people who are just lounging about, sometimes chill. And I think, come on, there's so much to do, so much to learn, just seize the moment. That's how I feel. That's how I would define myself, is seize the moment. And don't put yourself in I try to always go out of my comfort zone. My interview with Russell Brand, way out of my comfort zone. I was terrified. And actually, my son was there at the time and he said, Mum, they're never going to air that. That was terrible. I was so out of my comfort zone. I was like a rabbit caught in the headlights. I'd never done something so high profile with someone so famous. But I did it because I wanted to get the message out there. And every time now I fear something, or something makes me feel uncomfortable, I see that as an opportunity to learn and grow. I don't fear failure anymore. In fact, failure, you learn so much more from that than success. So I tell my readers, my message is fail and fail again and fail again and fail again. Because every time you fail, you learn. And when you're learning, you're living a life of meaning and purpose. Because we are here to learn, I think. I think the danger is when you say, I know.
Yeah. And acknowledge all small failures. You don't have to fail so big every time. To learn, you can just fail small. And it's not that big of a problem.
It's not, it doesn't matter, because most people actually are concerned about what they're doing. We all worry what other people think. Most people are concerned about what they're doing. They're not judging. Most people really aren't like that. Just worry about what you're doing. As I say, the person you should compete with is the person you were yesterday. That's all.
Yes.
Stop comparing yourself to other people. And there's nothing wrong with failure. Walt Disney was fired for lack of imagination. You know, Edison with his first job, they fired. There's a wonderful one with Jeff Bezos actually about how before he started Amazon, all the spectacular failures he had along the way and how he's laughing about them, and how even now Amazon, there's so many things they do that fail, but he has this culture of you just try. It's the spaghetti against the wall technique. See what sticks.
Exactly. So, but I also heard that you're highly sensitive.
Yes, I have written a book called The Sensitivity Code, which is for people like me who their instinct is to want to help and be compassionate and kind and see connection. I think there are a lot of people like that. But unfortunately, the people who see difference and who are narcissistic and materialistic, they at the moment have got the upper hand in this world. But that's why the world's the state it is. So my sensitivity code was to try and empower people who are like that, because I've struggled with this in my life, and that you feel that you're a failure because you don't want to be in conflict. You don't want to always put yourself first. You want to actually to see other people. I love animals. It's because it's nature. She wants to be a part of it. But people like that, they often feel that they're weak or they're flawed. And what I wanted to show is your instinct is to be like that, is to be caring. It's not a weakness. It's not a flaw. It's a strength. It is what has evolved humanity, because communities that care for each other, they survive more than people who are like, all in it for themselves. So believe in it as a strength, because we are actually seeing that now, because in the UK, we have the health workers are being applauded every week. And these health workers are people who are empathetic and compassionate. Now, a few years ago, they were not applauded and recognized as the strengths. The key workers now, the drivers, the health workers, they are the power that's going to pull us through this health crisis, not the celebrities and the narcissists. Nobody wants to hear from them anymore. It's wonderful. So I'm saying this is a moment for sensitive and caring people who actually don't want to. It's not all about appearance. It's about being a better person, who want to be kind, whose instinct is to help the vulnerable. It's time for you now to recognize this as the strength that it is. It's not a flaw. It's a strength. And there are people who are born to be kind. Well, as I say, the first person to like you has to be you, right? So don't worry about what other people think if you show the real self. First of all, what do you think of you? Work on that, because I'm telling you, it's like magic. Once you start liking you and admiring what there is to admire about you, and there is always things to admire about people, however flawed they may be, once you start thinking, well, I did something good yesterday, or I held that door open for someone, you can start that small. That was a good thing to do. I like myself for that.
Mm-hmm.
That's where progress starts.
Yeah.
Keep doing good, kind things every day until you actually think, hey, I'm not bad. I'm quite a nice person.
Exactly.
When that happens, it's magic. Other people respond.
Back to 21 rituals, nature. Which ritual do you like the most? Which ritual do you practice yourself?
I do them all because I wouldn't actually put them in the book if I hadn't seen that they work for myself. I'm getting to an age and stage in my life where I can't do anything that isn't authentic anymore. It just feels wrong. And as I said, I'm blessed to write many books now. So it's something I do for love rather than need at the moment. So I can't endorse anything that I don't actually. So all of them are special to me, really special. But there are two that stand out. One is the animal one, which is doing a meditation. And I recommend a website where you can actually spend time just imagining what it would be like to be a specific animal. It's a wonderful website where you can become a giraffe, you can become a shark, and they give you all the scientific knowledge that you need in a kind of a meditative state. And you can just imagine that, because I believe animals for me are earth angels. I am passionate about animals, fiercely against animal cruelty of any kind. I think the way we treat our animals is horrific, and I will do anything to champion their well-being. So that, and also my dogs and my cats, I have 2 dogs, 2 cats, so they can live in harmony, have at some point literally saved my life with their love and their companionship, because having a pet is the most wonderful boost to your self-esteem. They are spiritual. They love you regardless. They don't care if you have a big job. They don't care how you look like. They just want you. So I'm telling anyone who's feeling depressed, there's healing power in having a pet. You are loved unconditionally, and that sounds a lot like heaven to me. Being loved, just all you need to do is give them their basic, and they love you.
Yeah.
That's such a validating and rewarding experience and healing. So that ritual, the animal one. And then I think it's the final ritual. Yes, it is water. I've always felt very close to water, and I actually found out that empaths tend to. I'm somebody who loves having baths. I just feel that, because water is emotion. So spending time near lakes, near seas, near oceans, and it makes sense really, because we're 70%, up to 70% water. And if you think the moon rules the tides, and that's when I did a book called The Moon Fix, actually, which is all about how the moon, being in tune with the moon. I firmly believe that. I follow the progress of the moon each month and in tune with that. You know, when I believe that up there we're ruled by the planets. But water, as I say, we're 70% water. So again, that's where we feel at home. And I feel very at home near water of any kind. I think it's deeply spiritual, deeply calming. And I think we need to protect our oceans, remove the litter from the beaches and the seas. That ritual about being in tune with the healing power of water. Water is life. We can't live without it. And tuning into that every day is something that I do as well. So merging with water.
Yeah.
But it's a natural thing for an empath to do. Actually, empaths are always water.
Yeah.
There's any water source.
Water as well.
Do you? Yeah, I bet you.
So, but there is something about you that I find very fascinating, is that your extreme search for science, scientific proof, and still being spiritual, because I can sense that you are very spiritual, even though you believe that you don't have a certain how do you say? Yeah. So abilities.
But I believe that, you see, the thing is, I think you can't do it all in this life. And my soul chose to be a researcher and to get the information out there. You know, I write 3 to 4 books a year. I get obsessed with my books. I write, you know, my family will know, I go into exile. That's my role. If I wanted to be a psychic or a medium, that requires training, dedication, and you can't do both.
To the Swedish audience, what would you like to say to them that are, important truths that you live by every day?
Well, I'll talk about relationships first. As far as relationships are concerned, don't love or like or work with people because of their potential, what you think they could be. If you don't like or love someone or feel comfortable with someone as they are when they come into your life, that's not going to work. Too many mistakes in relationships are because of what we think someone could be rather than who they really are. If someone shows you who they are, believe them. I know that doesn't sound that spiritual because we all like to think there's good in people, but no, if someone shows you a couple of times that they don't respect you or they don't value you, believe them. They're not going to change no matter what you do. So that's it. Another thing is relationship is people don't treat you as you treat them. People treat you as you treat yourself. So that's a big life truth. And in terms of life in general, as I say, walk the talk. Dreams and plans and visions are great. We all need that. But more important is the actions you take. What you do in the world is what people don't remember you for what you said. People will remember you by what you do. So it's what you do. Be the change you want to see in the world. And then my final one is if you're confused and you don't know the next step forward, just do the next right thing. I love that Frozen movie. Actually, it's the second Frozen movie. If you're a Disney fan, there's a wonderful song, I believe, and just this character is confused, and they say, "Don't think ahead, just do the next right thing." And that's what my ritual books are. Forget the future, forget all this, forget everything. Just here and now. What in the next 5-10 minutes can you do that is positive and right? Keep doing. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. Keep doing the next right thing. And then if you keep repeatedly doing that, one day you will wake up and you suddenly feel better about yourself. And the moment you feel better about yourself is the moment that life starts to transform. And things won't go all magically into place because they're not meant to. Relationships all won't work out because they're not meant to. How many of us have fallen madly in love in our youth, and then 20 years you look back and you think, thank God that didn't work out. That person was so wrong for me. I mean, one of my dreams growing up, I wanted to be a ballerina. I trained so hard. I actually got into the Ballet Rambert, but because I was so poor, it didn't work out. I wanted my life to end. I thought that was the end of my life. But now looking back, I think, yes, that would have been great. For 10 years, I would have been a dancer. But then I would have emerged in my 30s, because that's the cutoff point, with no education, not really not sure what I wanted to do. What then? And I think, thank goodness that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Because it was the right thing at the time. We got to think that what you think is heartbreaking can actually be turned to an advantage later on. A friend of mine's daughter failed her exams when she was 15, terribly. Then 3 years later, she got back on track and actually got into Oxbridge here. But in her personal statement, she used the failure of her early exams to show how she had turned things around. And they loved the fact, because everybody says, oh, don't apply to Oxbridge if you failed all your GCSEs, which is here. Yeah. Don't even bother applying, they won't notice. She ignored that and thought, well, I've got stunning A-level grades here. Okay, I've got 2 or 3 GCSEs and I got E grades, doesn't matter. She just had the courage to try. They actually saw it as a positive, because here was someone who had recognized that they'd messed up and had come back. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you can be the best. Yeah. It's very hard to think of that at the time. And it's especially so with relationships. If you feel that this person is everything to you and it doesn't work out, trust me, in 10 years' time, I know that sounds a long time, you will look back and think, thank God, you know. And typically when you think, thank God, that person tends to come back into your life and show you who they really are. And you realize, oh my goodness, I made the right decision.
That is very true. So a couple of few like short ones. What interest do you have except writing books and talking to scientists?
Talking to scientists, writing books, studying mediums and psychics, doing my podcast. My interest, of course, is my animals. I love my animals. And also, I am very driven. So I've made a conscious effort in recent years to focus more on the people that matter to me, my family, spend time helping them. They're on their journey too. And to be there. Nothing matters more than the people who are close to you. What's the point of winning a Booker Prize or Nobel Prize if the people close to you are unhappy? You need to look at that. Your people in your life, are they happy? Are they? And if you can't make them happy, maybe you should be on your own. Don't destroy other people's lives in the process to get where you want. That matters to me. And I love reading. I love movies, although we can't go at the moment. I love reading. I love movies, and of course walking in nature. All those kind of things. And I love music. Music is my passion. My son actually is at the Royal College of Music. Oh. He's a pianist, hence the piano behind the screen. Yeah, I love listening to music.
What kind of music?
And comedy. Yes. I think another thing about self-help, it gets too serious. I think, and that's why I was so pleased that Life, I don't know how it happened, because he was having these major names on there like Marianne Williamson and Tony Robinson, and I was blessed with the opportunity to talk about what I do with a comedian. Yeah. And I think comedians actually are spiritual leaders without realizing it. We all need to take ourselves a little less seriously. Yeah. Life is to be enjoyed, not to be endured.
No. So where do you live?
I live in Windsor.
Windsor,
which is where the Queen lives. Yeah, I can see the castle.
Oh, gosh, I've been there. It's fantastic.
It is beautiful.
It. Yeah.
Yeah, I live in Windsor.
And you know, the ancient wings, they are, you know, constantly there.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, I'm very, very, very lucky. I'm very lucky, yeah.
Oh, God, I love it. So, yeah, family, we have that. Where are you born?
I was born in Sussex. I was born in Sussex in UK. Although my mother, as I said, was Dutch Indonesian. Yeah. So, and my husband is Chinese. So I really am a bit of everything, you know. So I've got all sorts of cultures in me.
Do you speak Chinese?
No, he doesn't actually. He was British born.
Ah, okay.
British born Chinese. And although his father, he could never actually speak to his father because his father only spoke Chinese, which is interesting. Never learned English.
Oh, wow. How's that relationship?
Yeah. His mother was English, you see. Yeah, but it's a different time.
It can be love still.
It's a different time. A different time. You know, it was a different time. He came here as a sailor. So, you know, different time. And my mother came here from war-torn, you know, Indonesia. So a lot of mixed cultures, and, you know, found a home in the UK, which is very tolerant of different cultures and, you know.
I like Britain.
Well, right now it's in a bit of chaos, so we need
But you're not afraid of chaos, and I like that. You're not afraid of chaos, that's for sure.
Well, chaos is like a kettle boiling. It's got to boil. It's like the darkness before the dawn, isn't it? The screams of pain in childbirth. That's where I feel we are right. Or the adolescence. Adolescence is a traumatic, difficult time where everything's going, and I hope the kettle's, we're boiling at boiling point, and it will. I hope it goes in a more spiritual direction and a less materialistic direction. And if I can play a part in that, and all I know is right now.
Playing, you mean?
I hope I have. As I said, the unprecedented interest in the media and what I do feels like a blessing from heaven. That, you know, I feel blessed to push this spiritual message. You know, focus on who you are, not what you do. You know, focus on the person you are, and then do good things. You know, not what you have. less focus on what you have or what you look like. It's just got horrible in recent years, this focus on social media, on appearance, these Instagram models. And I love the fact now that I can go on Instagram and I don't, at my age and stage in life, and it's not, and I'm not harassed because of my appearance, which is what would have happened last year. People were nasty, and I'm not getting that now. It's like, we want to hear what you've got to say.
Wonderful. That makes me so happy to hear that.
Thank you.
Theresa, I'm going to say thank you for all your time and all your words and all your wisdom. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And let's talk again with the next book.
Yes, please. And I just want to thank you as well. It's the first time I've spoken to Sweden, and I'm just blessed. Really, I am. We are very much in awe of Sweden over here. I'm telling you that.
Oh, that's so nice to hear, because we hear a lot of other things.
No, not
so mad at us.
You gave us ABBA. How can we not like you? Love you. That's what I say. Watch Mamma Mia if you're ever feeling low.
Yes, that's a good one. And the last one, and all the music in that, it makes me cry because it's so beautiful. That's
a more spiritual message sometimes than anything. As I say, increasingly in movies you're getting these powerful spiritual messages. If I say someone is bereaved, watch the Disney movie Up.
Yeah.
About an old man. If you're struggling with your emotions, negative ones, watch the Disney movie Inside Out.
Yeah.
It's there, and I know that because actually on my podcast, I must just say this, I had the former science director and of Disney and co-founder of Pixar Studios, Dr. Lauren Carpenter. He is a deeply spiritual person. He founded Pixar Disney, and he was a guest on my podcast. And I was so awestruck. First question, he won 2 Oscars for his computer animation. He's a physicist, and he's now joined the scientists, many of whom I like Dr. Julia Mossbridge, researching spirituality, researching consciousness. And it's interesting that within movies, we are getting a lot of spiritual themes, the Frozen movies in particular, about being yourself, let it go, something calling me. There's this song in the second movie where she's lying there and something, and that's spirit calling her to be a better person, to see the bigger picture of her life, that there is more to this life than just stuff.
Oh, I'm sure.
And that message is coming through loud and clear in a lot of movies that touch hearts. I mean, there's a reason why Titanic was such a big movie. That final scene when they meet on the staircase. is the reason why movies that touch heart, they can heal and comfort in extraordinary ways. And I hope cinema comes back actually after this.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I hope it does. Cinema is a powerful way to reach people, because, you think, wouldn't churches love to have that attendance?
Exactly.
And again, finally, I also work with the Star Wars people, the Star Wars nights, the Force in the Star Wars movie. I did a book, Become the Force. The reason Star Wars is so successful is not special effects and Harrison Ford. It's that, what is the Force?
Yeah, exactly.
It's spirit. Yeah. Movies are teaching these truths without us knowing. So go and watch some inspiring movies as well. Movie therapy is a big thing. I'm sorry, I could go on and on.
We should not do that. Now it's lunchtime here. I will have my husband and my dog outside. And you can have breakfast if you want.
Well, it's nearly lunchtime too, so I'll do that. Sorry if I talk too much.
No. Don't be sorry. It's fantastic. It's lovely to talk to you.
Thank you so much, Alexandra.
Thank you, Theresa. We'll talk again.
Lots of love.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.